All right, welcome everybody to the state of Los Angeles. We're going to be continuing our segment talking about why people are leaving LA. And this week we got a special guest with us. We have someone that, oh man, I haven't spoken to in quite a long time. We got Roberto Martinez with us. And we have Billy Delgado stepping in. Donald couldn't make it with us, so we have Billy stepping in to help out with hosting duties.
What's up, guys?
So as I mentioned, we have a special guest with us this week. We have Roberto Martinez. What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me. I'm excited to just talk in my transition, moving states. Exciting but scary, but thank you for having me.
No, it's definitely a big move, man. We appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience with us. Just a quick background. We both went to Cathedral High School together. So I just want to get a brief summary of what did you do after high school, man, after graduation?
Yeah, a lot happened after graduation. So I ended up going to Santa Monica College just to get started and kind of figure out what career I wanted to take. Within that, I was discerning vocation and religious life as well. And, it kind of happened out of nowhere where I was like, I actually enjoy teaching. I actually enjoy helping. And that was always my goal, giving back to my community, giving back to just all these people who helped me throughout my life, right? Ever since I went through my illness, going through my cancer experience and surviving that, it was just like, I got a second chance in life that I was like, you know what? I'm here for a reason. God gave me a second opportunity. So let's make this opportunity the most I could do. Yeah, I went to Santa Monica, did my prerequisites for actually, I was looking into doing respiratory therapy. And I did that and I tried it. But being in the hospital scene again, I don't know if I want to do this as a career. It was very traumatizing being in the hospital, going through my illness, chemo, and all that. So I knew I wanted to help people. I just didn't know how. And that's when I stayed connected with Cathedral and the Christian Brothers. And then that's how I kind of decided, maybe education was for me. I transferred after Santa Monica to LaSalle University in Philly. And that's kind of like the journey I began with teaching with the Christian Brothers. And one thing led to another. And then it's interesting because I went from the West Coast to the East Coast and then I came back. My first teaching career was in San Francisco. And now that I think about it, now I'm moving back to East where I went to college. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what happened after high school. Now I have a family, two kids, and, just kind of thinking about family now. And this next move that I'm making is for family.
So, Roberto, us three being educated with LaSalle community and by the LaSalle Christian Brothers, we all learned the five core principles. And knowing you after all these years, one of those five principles I think that has followed you through this path is inclusive community. I was just wondering if you could, open up a little bit in living in community like Los Angeles, going to Philly, living in San Francisco, and transitioning out to exploring being a family man, because you and I could both relate growing up in Los Angeles and then moving out and then settling in near the Bay Area. So if you could explore more on community and how was that like starting with the Christian Brothers and then now to becoming a family man.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the five core principles, not only learn them, but I live them. And it's not just about community, but an inclusive community. And I think that's kind of been part of my journey. And I've always loved being in community, the LaSalle Christian Brothers, as a family man. That's important. And that's why this move from California to New Jersey is to have community for my kids, to grow in an inclusive community. Being here in the Bay, we love it because it's very diverse. There's a lot of ethnicities, and the school that my kids go to now, they get to see not just about their culture, but just learn more about a lot of ethnicities. And being part of a community has been really important in my discernment and every move I've made. I've always tried to find inclusive community, a safe community, because growing up in LA, that was never guaranteed in the neighborhoods I grew up with. But, my parents did the best they could. And I think that's why they sent me to Catholic school, to be in a safe environment, a good community that helped me thrive. And that's what I want now for my kid, to be in an inclusive community, but also to have family around. Unlike I did, I didn't really have family around in LA. So like I said, this move is exciting because they're going to have a community of family, grandparents, uncles, aunts. But most importantly, I just want them to grow up differently than I did.
Right on, man. That's very important to have our kid be exposed to family and to have a community. Like the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And I'm on basically the same boat where I moved from Los Angeles to the Bay Area and then Me and my wife settled down here in the Central Coast. In the previous episodes, Michael and I covered my wife wanted a community here. All her family is here. And that's what she wanted for our daughter to experience. So now, not only you had sense of community within the LaSalle Christian Brothers, and then now transition to have a community back east. Can you tell us a little bit more about your work? Because you and I have one thing in common, and that's education. And that's what you opened up today, that education was something that you wanted to follow. And that's another core principle that the LaSalle Christian Brothers has taught us. Can you tell us a little bit more about the education system? What have you learned? What have you come across? What were the challenging moments? And what was your mission like, man? Because it's like you also help people like I did, but we took different paths. Can you follow up with that and let us know how was your educational experience as being a teacher?
For me, education is very important. When you keep learning, you keep growing. And I'm firmly that when you stop educating yourself, you stop growing. And that's one thing for me. It's important to teach, most importantly, to be a role model for the students I teach. Just like St. John Baptist de LaSalle saying, those entrusted to our care, we have to be our best and most importantly, be brothers to them. My parents weren't educated. Highest education for them was elementary school because for them, it was survival. It was helping their parents to work, to be able to afford food. And I think that's the most important thing that I take away from my parents' sacrifice when they immigrated to California, and thanking them for leaving their comfort zone and wanting what's best for their kids. As I reflect back, that's what I'm doing now for my kids, because I want them to get a good education. I want them to be able to have a home. My parents were never be able to buy a home for us. Yes, they came here. They gave us the best education. From kindergarten to high school, they paid tuition. They paid Catholic education because they saw the value in that. Thanks to all the people who helped us, donors, the LaSalle Christian Brothers, the Daughters of Charity, who gave us scholarship to be able to go to these schools. The sacrifices that they made, I feel that the education that we had in these schools, we could see now the fruits. My mom could see us 3 of her children graduate, not only high school, that, she didn't graduate, but colleges. Myself, graduating from LaSalle University, my brother, St. Mary's College, my sister, St. Mary's College. And for her, that was her reward, seeing her children graduate, something she didn't do. And for us, that's why education has been very important to our family. And that's why for me, as an educator now, I feel it's about paying it forward and giving these students and families the same support that I and my brothers got going to these schools.
Education from our parents, you're right. And I could relate that education was based on life experience and the sacrifices they had to do, especially leaving their comfort zone and trying to provide for their family and then start their new family on their own, especially living in Los Angeles where the mortality rate was being risky, and then trying to raise children to shelter from the dangers of the streets of Los Angeles. However, that was just life experience that they had to learn. So education comes from different routes, right? It comes from, let's see where life takes us, learning from our own mistakes, basically, and providing for our kids. My follow-up question is, now that you're a religious study teacher, and that's one of the main subjects you were teaching in high school, right? And with today's social issues, what's going on with the controversy with religion, with the church, how are you able to reach out to younger students and have them relate to you of like, yeah, let's learn about religion and let's all sit down, let's have this conversation? How's your experience like, especially teaching at several different Catholic schools with several different traditions that they had?
Teaching religion, I feel like it's like, oh, it's easy because, you talk about God and answer to everything is Jesus, but it's really not. I feel any subject is tough to teach, but for me, religion, and the reason I enjoy teaching it is because it's not just black and white. There's always that gray in the middle, and a lot of good conversations happen in religion. A lot of good questions always come up. I've taught religion from freshmen to seniors, and I've enjoyed every class I've taught. I think meeting the students where they are, that's number one. And I think once you meet them where they are and you understand them, then they'll start listening and understanding why they need to learn about religion. For instance, I teach social justice, and, going back to your question, there's a lot of topics and tough conversations. But, what I tell the students, it's like, okay, we need to learn to have conversations. We need to learn to be able to speak up and just listen to each other. I think that's the number one thing that if we did, I think our society would be in a better place. But we don't have time because we're always on the go. And most importantly, we just don't hear what other people have to say. And I think that's one thing that I've learned. Even before I start teaching, I always want to hear about the students and what they want to learn. And I give them like a little survey. We'll be learning about social justice, but what is social justice? And just kind of do activities. So I want to get a feel for the room to see where they are. Okay, they want to learn about the war that's happening in Palestine, or they want to learn more about Black Lives Matter, just hot topics that are in our society. Then we could start learning together, getting the correct information. Most importantly, what I tell them, freshman year, you guys read the Bible. We study it just like I did in Cathedral. As you go through sophomore, junior year, you study the Bible, but junior, senior year is very important because that's when you live the gospel. We're the good news. And I think that's kind of my number one thing that I do in teaching. How are we going to live the gospel? How are we going to be better people to our community? How are we going to support our brothers and sisters that are being persecuted, or we see something like, how are we going to stand up for others? I give them the tools, the resources to now go out and be the change that we want to see. That's kind of my approach in teaching religion. You just say, oh, we're going to learn about Jesus today and we're going to read the Bible. That's not interesting to them. They want to know how they could be more of a change and what they could do. And I think that's, the life lessons we learn in my class. Honestly, probably like 40% Catholic students attend Catholic school. Unlike when we were growing up, it was like 80 to 90%, I would say, that were Catholic. So it's like, how can we teach religion to those who are not Catholic? How can we get to those students who just want to know how they could be just better people? And I think that's the most important thing, because I feel like this next generation growing up, they want to see change. They're concerned about our earth and global warming and all that. So it's like, so what can I do to change? I think that's the most important in teaching religion, is how can we bring change to our society?
Wow. That's a lot to teach different freshmen to seniors and having that experience and teaching them social justice. But not only that, but to be equipped to be the modern day missionaries. And the interesting thing that you just mentioned is how times change. There's not people who have the Catholic background that are not attending to these schools, but people of religious backgrounds. How were you able to reach out to those students? Did you have to let them know, like, hey, I'm not here to brainwash you or convert you or anything? What was your approach to reach out those students, especially religious studies?
So my approach in teaching religion, it's more like, okay, we're going to learn about how we could be a change, and here to respect everyone, regardless of your religion. The first thing we do in class is we pray. We start every class with prayer. And one thing that I've done for several years is invite them to pray. So it's always about inviting them and letting them pray the way they want to pray. And if they're not Catholic, right, they're Jewish or another denomination, it's like, okay, you could bring your prayer into this class and feel safe and pray the prayer that you want us to pray, right? I always say you could pray to God, you could pray to your creator. So just making them feel comfortable. And yeah, I've had students say, well, I don't believe in God. And it's like, okay, so what do you believe in? And honestly, for me, I'm not always teaching by the book. I'm always teaching what's in front of me. I learned a lot from Cathedral and the Christian brothers, how, you got to not only teach their minds, but their hearts. Once you teach their hearts, their minds are going to just kind of open to learning what you need to teach them. So that's my approach, just meeting them where they are. And if they're struggling in their faith, then helping them, right? Honestly, teaching now 15 years, I've learned a lot too, like how to be able to approach teaching those students who are not Catholic.
That's quite a heavy load right there in regards to teaching religious studies, especially trying to reach out to the younger minds. And I think you got it right there by saying, let me impact the heart right away so I could help them to open their minds, and then give them the tools that they actually need for them to be fully equipped to be ready to have to change the world. Interesting topics like with current events and such as, okay, how do we kind of help with global warming? Because that's an issue that is being ignored or wiped under the rug and so forth. I just want to go back to community because you have taught in several different communities: San Francisco, Oakland, Richmond, Concord, and then now back to Alameda with religious studies that you were teaching in all those different high schools. What did you get from the community in each of those high schools? And how were you able to reach to them to build their own community? And also, were you trying to find the right one, the right community for you? Because you were going from community to community in different schools. Can you share more about that and open up more on that?
For me, it wasn't about finding the right community.
Mm-hmm.
It was more about helping the communities and learning from different communities that I taught. Because as much as I taught these communities, they taught me a lot too, from students to faculty to staff. So any person that I came in community with, I learned a lot from those community, teaching in a fluent school and then teaching like in the more like impoverished kind of community. I learned a lot. And for me, coming from LA and going to Cathedral, our community, it was working class, a lot of students on financial aid. And for me, that's the community that sometimes kind of just needs that extra helping hand and hope. And for me, the Christian brothers, the people surrounding me going to that high school was a really good community where I found was very helpful in my development and my education. And most importantly, when I was going through my illness, they were there for me. So the different communities that I've taught in, I've learned a lot. And I also learned even those who are the wealthiest and go to really good schools, they also need to be reached. And they also are looking for a community. They might have everything, but are missing is someone to listen to them, to just be like, hey, I'm here. I feel like the communities I've been at, I've learned a lot, but also I've learned that there's no right community because I think each community has its own, but at the same time, each community brings a lot to my development. And I've actually really enjoyed teaching in all schools that I've taught, from Oakland to Concord and now Alameda. And now I'm really excited to go to another community, which is out of my comfort zone, another state. That community is going to need what I bring. So yeah, it's exciting. And at the same time, I'm excited for the next community I'll be in New Jersey.
And I think right now, what you're trying to say that you really value presence, that you want to let the students know, I really validate your presence. You're very important right now. And with that, I think what the Christian brothers taught us is that when you see your student before you see, the presence of God. So you take that moment of silence, you acknowledge their presence, and then you could go get to work by letting them know, you're here, I'm here too. So whenever you need that extra guidance, I want you to be okay to come to me whenever you feel ready, right? I want to transition with you having experience with graduating seniors and with today's economy, right? Because this is what the podcast is all about. Some people are leaving out of the state, or people have left LA. Some say with the cost of living. In the previous episode that I was in, I say it's not only LA, it's the whole entire state that's pretty much has the same price, right? What have you equipped with graduating seniors with economy for them to transition to a college, about loans, to be finding a career that they need more work experience than having a piece of paper that they got a bachelor's degree or master's degree? How do you able to equip those seniors in a religious study class to them to be prepared for the world, or for them to transition to focus on a career?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to be real and honest with them. Kind of share my life experience with them. And, when I told my seniors that I'm teaching now, the reason that I was leaving, they all nodded and understood, because they probably see in their household both working parents, barely making ends meet. Am I just going to survive and live here paying rent, not being able to afford a home? Or do I want to be able to be close to family, have that family support, and most importantly, community, and be able to afford a home? It came down to that. And, for the students that I'm teaching, and just kind of letting them know this is real life. And I think just going through life, and it's crazy, right? Like I said, I was from here and then East Coast and then back, and now I'm going back. And I think that once you leave your comfort zone and then start exploring, then you start realizing that there's more things out there than just where I grew up, LA. There's more than just that comfort zone. There's a lot more that you get to explore and get to see. I've always loved traveling. So I always tell students that I teach, when you go to college, try to leave the state. Of course, you want to be close to family. But if you leave the state, which, I left for 2 years, it was just eye-opening that there's a lot more out there and a lot of opportunities. And that's kind of like what I tell the students. Leave the state, give it a try, and see how you can leave out of California. And then if once you're back and maybe have a good career and job, you could go back, right, to California. And then if you decide to stay wherever you go, it's like, oh, Yeah, I could live outside of California. It's just sharing life situations and my life story with students where they're like, oh, okay, so the best way we could prepare them is go to college, explore outside of California and see what the possibilities could be if you leave California. So yeah, I think there's no way how you can prepare for life. It's just kind of going through life. And then, the big factor right now is family, right? And I feel like as an educator, I could bring my gifts and talents anywhere, whether it's here or another state. But to have family and community around, I think that's the most important thing. And that's why I'm moving.
Right on, man. And now, after these last couple of years being a family man, what experiences have you learned in your own household? What were the things that you were able to build in the household? Now we know that little bit of this conversation that there's been some religious values tied to it, community has been tied to it, family isn't tied to it. What else have you built in your household, or what experiences have you learned in your own household as a family man, as a father, that you're now able to take back east and start all over again?
Well, the number one thing I take with me is family is everything, because with my family, which is, my brother, my sister, my mom, that's kind of like my core growing up. I feel like as long as we have each other and we support each other, anything's possible. And now that we all have our families, my brother has his family, I have my family, my sister as well. It's kind of like now we're going to expand our family and we all want to expand, but also better our family situation. That's one thing I'm taking with me when I move to New Jersey, like my core family, which is, my wife, my two kids. I want them to better our family, when my kids have their family. So I think most importantly, sticking together, helping each other, but most importantly, just always doing what's best for your family. Just like my parents moved from their country to this country to better our family. Now I'm moving to New Jersey to continue to grow my family, but also better my family's situation. And honestly, just comes down to being able to afford a home, which right now we can in California.
Yeah. So that's another thing that this podcast covers. When Mike hosts and Donald, they always discuss about the living situation or the cost of living. It's been a challenge. And that's why people have moved out and explored different places, right? Like myself, I got lucky, finding this house. If it wasn't through word of mouth that this house was going to be for sale, being found with the right family, right? What happened was my brother-in-law lives next door and he knew the neighbors that used to live in this house. And all they wanted was like, we don't want to put it in the market. We're trying to find the right family that could take this house from our hands, because we need the right people that could nourish this place as we nourished it spiritually, with values, so forth, and great family. And my brother-in-law was like, I got the family for you. Let me get a hold of my sister. And voila, both women from each household were able to find the middle grounds. However, I could have been in the same boat as you, trying to struggle and be out renting from someone else's property, and as money leaves our hand to invest just a living temporarily, that's not very secure, because they could say at any moment, hey, you got to leave our premises for XYZ reasons. And that could be shocking and unprepared. But now transitioning to live with your wife's family back east, what plans do you have going out there? Because Donald has mentioned in a previous episode, to survive in a big city like Los Angeles, if you're equipped with a plan and you're on the go and stick to your plan, you're able to survive a big city. Now that you're going to a different state, what plans do you have, or what your family has planned? And I hear you say that, you want to buy a house and that's what's going to help you to get. But what else you're trying to come to reality in other sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal, right? For me and for my family, and our goal, and talking to my wife, she's also in education. She's a special ed therapist. The goal is to continue her private practice and continue growing that. I think for her, career wise, that's a great opportunity to start that in New Jersey. She's doing her research and there's not many ed therapists around there. So to start her own business and continue growing it, she's done it here. I think that's number one. That's going to help our family majorly. And for me is to continue educating, teaching, and, expanding kind of my resume. I've thought about other career opportunities, but for some reason, education keeps coming back. And I feel like that's where God wants me to keep helping students and just paying it forward, right? I think that's my mission in life, to pay it forward, to those who helped me, but to pay it forward to also those who need help now. And I think for me, service has been very important because I think when you serve with your heart, a lot of blessings come your way. That's, one thing my mom has always taught us, if you do it with the kindness of your heart, with anything expecting in return, then God's going to bless you even more. We're so blessed that my wife's family is going to help us out, save money, and then hopefully within the next year buy a home. I mean, I think for both of us, we're going to have that family support, even our relationship grow even more. Because, as our relationship right now, as husband and wife, it's tough, right? Because we have to both work. We also have to take care of our kids. And it's not as easy as like, hey, we could just drop the kids for a little bit at our grandparents' house and have the grandparents looking over right here. If we want to go for a date night, we have to pay a babysitter or, my sister helps. But, I think just having that support, it's going to help our family, to help my wife and I's relationship continue to be stronger. And most importantly, for our kids to have a home. And like I said previously, my parents were never able to buy a home in California. The way things are looking right now, my wife and I can't buy a home. It's sad to say, as educators, we can't buy a home. But, to have that family support and community that's going to help us in New Jersey, I think that's why we're making this move. And before our careers, we're putting family first, right? And I think our careers come second. And I feel like once we do that, I think that all things are going to work out.
So what's important to you is just continue building our family. And while we get this helping extra hand where we don't have to pay a stranger or rely on my sibling to take care of the kids, we're able to help grow ourselves in marriage. And also, I hear you say that later on, when you get your career going, it's important for you and your wife to be in the field of education and to reach out younger generations and students. So you're able to pay it forward. And then let's see, with some of grace of God, you're being blessed in return to find something. Whatever you invest spiritually, whatever you invest in your career, you're able to find that home. So you could have that happy medium. And I don't know if I got everything correct, but that's what I hear you say.
Yeah. And I think, besides buying a home, I think home is, it's something physical. Yes, we're going to have a home, but home is where family is. And, to have that support, love, and just kind of have that family and community around, I think that's home. With my wife's family, who have been very supportive and just, welcoming and wanting us to, help, right? And I think that's one thing. That's why for us as educators, it's always about giving back, helping, serving. Because honestly, yes, we could have the money, we could have all that, but I think for me, I feel better when I go to bed and I feel like, hey, I did something good today. I helped someone. And, I tell my students, like, this is not my job. This is what I love to do. And, the only reason I need to get paid is because I need to survive because I have a family. But if I didn't get paid to be a teacher, I think this is one thing I would love to continue doing, even though we have to, right? Because that's the only way we could survive. But for me, it's always about giving back, paying forward. I could honestly say that I don't worry about like, oh, what are my kids are going to eat or how am I going to pay my rent next month? Because I think that's where the blessing has come, where God always helps you out and figures it out at the end of the day. So yeah, it's all about giving back, service, and that's what I want to teach my kids.
So put some values into the home, whatever you put out there in the field of education, you're modeling something for your kids to follow later on and carry that tradition, right, when they grow up so they could have beneficial future later on. Now, here's the tough question, man. So you're leaving California. Our experience here, Mike, myself, and you, the Mexican food is dope out here. We were blessed to find some dope spots in the Bay Area like Concord, right? I don't know, man. Are you ready to leave the Mexican food scene for a while? Are you going to be hunting in New Jersey? Are you going to use Yelp? Are you going to use people's word of mouth? What are you going to do, man? I mean, it's New Jersey where the majority of population is people from Colombia, people from Venezuela, Puerto Rico, República Dominicana. Those places are equipped with people from different Latino America culture. So I don't know, man. What are you gonna do? What do you have planned for food?
Oh man, it's a great question.
No doubt. I mean, in New York, there's good equipped Mexican food, but Jersey, come on, man, this is different.
No.
So what are you gonna do? Go ahead.
I feel you, man. The times I've been to Jersey, I've always tried to find Mexican food and, not Mexican food, but, I feel I've been blessed to have a mom who has taught me how to cook Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I really enjoy doing, cooking So I've learned that if you cook really good Mexican food, there's no reason why to go out and buy Mexican food.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Thinking like, when I'm over there, obviously I enjoy spots here that are really awesome and I go. And even in LA, I have a few spots where I'm like, man, I gotta have this Mexican food. So these last month, I have taken as much advantage of getting all the Mexican food I could get. Moving to over there, that's one thing. But it's funny you say that because my mom has already said, oh, I'm going to send you care packages with all the Mexican spices. And, I'm going to send you frozen tamales. And, my mom, she's more worried than I am. I don't think I'm going to start not having Mexican food. I am going to miss it. A lot of really good food in New York City. That's one thing I'm excited to continue exploring other foods from other ethnicities. The most important thing is for me, as long as I have cheese and a tortilla and have a quesadilla, that's like my comfort food. So I don't think it'll be that hard to find a tortilla and cheese in New Jersey. But yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot's going to change, just thinking about where I grew up, downtown LA, where you could just go to the corner, good Mexican food, or, just you go to the parking lot, there's a taco stand, and you're like, oh man, this is heaven, right? There's none of that in New Jersey, obviously. I think it's been good, and I've learned a lot about food, and I guess I'm gonna have to be cooking more over there, teaching them what real good Mexican food is. So that's one thing I'm really blessed that I am taking my gifts of cooking to New Jersey because, I love to cook, and I think I'll have more time to cook now that I'm gonna have help from my in-laws and people to look over the kids while I cook, right? Because right here, it's like I'm cooking, I'm watching the kids, my wife's working, and it's crazy. Yeah, definitely Mexican food. I'm gonna miss it, but hey, you could also send me some food too.
I will. Trust me, I can send you some care packages. But here's a bike clip, Mike. I could picture you coming visiting us during the winters, and you can say, "Hey, Billy, I'm heading to Cali. Meet me down in LA." Which I'm happy to do with the grace of God. But here's a bike clip, man. I could picture you coming here there in the winter, coming back with a t-shirt, no jacket. And I could be freezing my butt off with a jacket and a beanie, and you'd be like, what is wrong with you? I'd be like, what's wrong with you? It's cold out here. I come back from Jersey, okay? I have to wake up at a certain hour to defrost my windshield, and I have to put wheels, chains in my tires just to go to work, okay? And, I can see you being snappy about that, but now the winters is going to switch on you, man. So I want to wish you the best of luck on that. I think we're spoiled out here where we don't have to put chain in our tires or worry about those slushy roads or getting snow thrown at us. I don't know. I mean, are you really meant to prepare for more winter colds like that? It's 30 degrees, 10 degrees, maybe something below zero. I don't know how it is over there in Jersey, but I could imagine you're gonna be like, I need my summer weather again.
Definitely not. I think going to Philly prepared me to now moving to New Jersey because I remember in Philly some of these winters I got while I was there, man. I didn't know what a snow day was. It's like, oh, you don't get to go to school because you can. There's a lot of snow.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, the waking up early, shoving snow out of the driveway, letting your car heat up for 20, 30 minutes. We take a lot of things here for granted just because, California, you don't have to worry about that. You just wake up, jump in the car, and you're good to go. But it's exciting, right? Change is hard, but change is also exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just excited for the change and excited to just be around a community that's supportive, loving, and just excited to grow. And California has been good to me, and you never know. You never say never, right?
Exactly.
No, I might come back years later. You go, honestly, now that I have kids, it's like you want to be close to your kids. And I get it, as a parent, my mom and my in-laws with my wife, they want their kids around. And, I'm glad that my brother has my mom down in LA. Yeah, I'll be closer to her family. But I think that's the one most important thing. My family, my mom, my brother, my sister are very supportive in this move because they know that this move is for my family. And I think that's how I look at it. For me, it hasn't really hit me. It's been hitting me here and there. I'm moving. And like I said yesterday at graduation, I was like, oh man, this is it. I have this month to pack, get rid of stuff. It's coming more and more real. It's exciting and it's scary, but at the end of the day, it's all in God's hands. And in all my years, He's never let me down. So He's always been there, and I know He's not gonna let me down in this move. And He's know that I'm doing this for my family, and I think that's the exciting part, knowing that on the other side we have family with open arms waiting for us too. So,
got it, Mike. Do you have any final questions before we wrap up here?
Nah, man, I think you did a good job, Billy. I think you killed it. I think you covered a lot of topics ranging from religious studies to the value of family and community, and home is where the heart is, right? That's a famous saying that people like to say.
Yeah.
You know, it gives you the strength and the ability to make huge moves, big changes for yourself and your family, to do what's best instead of to doing what's comfortable, what's easy, to challenge yourself to grow and to expand. That's awesome, man. One thing I wanted to touch on, I think Billy did all the softball questions. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, shout out to Dotto for teaching me all this,
Yeah, man, definitely well prepared, man. Definitely handled it. You know, I didn't have to hop in for anything. I think everything kept going, kept moving, and we covered a wide range of topics, which is great for the interview. I think a lot of listeners are going to appreciate the insight, and they're going to be telling us, man, bring that Roberto guy back.
Yeah, future episodes, man, where he is shoveling snow or hiring a snowplow. We'll cover an episode on that.
Yeah, we'll just have to be on the same page when it comes to the time, because I'll be 3 hours ahead. So
yeah, no, it's cool. We'll wake up at 6 in the morning for you. Don't worry about it.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm always down to make future episodes just to let you know how the future looks like once I'm in New Jersey. But no, it's been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. We're gonna wish you luck. I'll see you in a couple weeks for sure in person. But yeah, man, I mean, thank you for being here. Thank you for being open or with your story, sharing your story with us. I really greatly appreciate it, especially having this connection with you. But yeah, man, keep me posted on your new journey for sure. Send me the culture shock experiences too. And I want to learn more from you as you transition and move forward, living your new life,
Yeah, definitely.
All right, then. I guess, gentlemen, I mean, that's all I have for today.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just wrap it up here. Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in, and be sure to check out the next one.
All right, then. For sure, Mike. All right. And we're out.
Peace.
Peace.
Laters. Peace.